That's very serious.
Yes.
But what was happening was this, that the commissioner in a district court was not given that information because it wasn't a criminal record that they were registered, that they had to register. What we passed was a bill that information would be available to the judge and to the commissioner in making a determination whether the person should be released on bond.
Now, with that, if a person violate that and come in, does the judge make that decision, or does they have a jury to make the decision?
On whether or not he violated?
Yes.
You could have either one. If you violate a protective order and you get some jail time, you can only go to jail for violating an order up to 90 days. But if you get any part of that 90 days, you have a right to a jury trial after that. But it's initially tried in the district court, and then you have a right to a jury trial after that for violating the domestic violence order.
I see.
So notification is going to be a big thing, and we've reduced down for the worst offenders for lifetime supervision, and the lifetime supervision is going to result in them registering every 3 months. And all it is checking in with the police station saying, here's where I'm living, here's where I'm so-and-so. Right now there are people that are homeless.
What's the penalty for that?
For failing to register, it carries a penalty of 3 years in jail. If you don't go see the police department in a timely fashion, you go to jail for that.
Yes.
You got to register, and you got to keep your registration up, keep your address known so that they can look at the computer and tell where you're at all times.
But your registration that's based. If you move at any time, they have to be notified.
You got to go to the police station and say, I have moved.
You have to physically go to the police. You can't call and say, I'm here.
No, you got to go to the station, and you got to change it. You got to change it with the old one and the new one, and let them know. And if you're from New York and you're registered and you moved to Maryland, you got to let them know.
Well, does this go on the driving record of the individual?
No, it doesn't go on the driving record. It just goes, although it was a suggestion that it go, so that a police officer who took his license could look at that and see, hey, this person is a
Because I've had some people mention the fact, that if, in fact, it was on the driving record, then a policeman just stops him for going through a light or speeding or something like that would know to be able to check on that individual.
Well, you can't do that. But right now, you can pull it up on the internet at any time and see where.
Can anyone pull it up?
Yes, anybody can pull it up and find out if there's any registered sex offenders in their neighborhood, in their community. It'll give them a map.
Well, how do you pull that up for sex offenders?
I don't usually do it, so I don't know. But it's registered. That is the most important thing that we have.
People need to know that.
Offender,
right.
And if you have a sex offender, you know whether it's one next door or at any particular address by name or by area. You would know who is a registered sex offender.
Well, how would people find out how to do that? I
mean, that's available at the police department. They would tell them how to look it up.
How to look it up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so you heard it here on the Ed Brown Show. Any sex offenders in your area, what you do is go to the police station and you can find out through your computer where they live and the name. Is that right, Joe?
Absolutely.
Huh?
Absolutely.
Right.
We had a proposal this year, and we've been talking about this, which may end up being part of the law, was that if you were going to a nursing home, if you were a patient and you were going to nursing and you were a sex offender, that you had to notify everybody in that building. Well, we didn't pass that bill.
But wouldn't it be the retirement home's responsibility to let the people know that a sex offender is coming into the area?
Yeah. That is what the bill was. That you had to notify.
I mean, it's notification.
Notification.
They would be fined or something like that if, in fact, they didn't let the people in that retirement home know a sex offender is coming in.
That was what the proposal was. That bill did not pass, but it has been sent to a committee to study whether or not we should do that. And the problem was that every time somebody would be coming in, and if they were they could be 70 years old and really not of any harm, or may not be a person of any interest, and they would never get into a nursing home. The nursing home is going to say, "Hey, we don't want you." They would turn them down. They'd never be able to get the treatment and and be able to get into a nursing home. Why would anybody take anybody in that would they'd have to worry about the liability?
Yes, right.
But on the other hand, if they moved into the nursing home, bang, They're on the chart, and anybody can find out where they're at. And anybody can find out.
But it's no fine against the owner of the nursing home?
No, not at the present time. Not at the present time. They're not responsible on somebody checking into a nursing home. They're not, the owners of those nursing homes are not liable. Or not
They're not liable.
They're not liable and not responsible
So you have to do it
do a
yourself.
record check on everybody that comes in the hospital. My God, if you had to do a record check on everybody who walked into the nursing home, it would really be pretty restrictive. It would be pretty hard on them to check into the nursing home. But that is a proposal that was the first time that it ever came up, was this past year. And it's going to, we ended up sending it to the Sexual Offender Advisory Board that's going to give us a recommendation next year as to what, if anything, we should do with respect to that particular item. See whether or not we should make the nursing homes liable for.
Well, anyone interested in any of these subjects, what do you do?
They can look on the internet and see when these bills are coming up. They're always posted. Every bill that we ever hear is posted 2 weeks in advance.
2 weeks.
And so if they would like to come down and testify and be heard, we would welcome their testimony at any time.
Right.
We'd be more than happy. The transporting of a gun to first of all, we passed a law last year that basically says if an initial protective order or a final order is granted, that all guns must be turned into the police department, to the sheriff's department. And so we've had a lot of problems with that, but there's been some transporting of a gun. For example, when the order expired, or if no order is ever signed, how do you transport that across the roads? How do you transport it back to your house without being in violation of the law? You got a gun in your car, and you're carrying it back to your home. That's a violation of the law. We made an exception that if you're transporting the gun to the police station or back from the police station to your home.
That's the exception.
That's an exemption, and you're not criminally penalized for that. So that is one of the things that we did pass this past year. And funny part was we had a little
Well, the gun has to be registered, right?
Well, it's registered to the owner at his home.
It's registered. And
if it's been purchased in the last 20 or 30 years. Because there are some guns that are not required to be registered because they were owned before the law took effect. They couldn't go out and say, hey, we want you to register all your guns. Those guns are not registered. If they're ever transferred, they become registered.
Well, can a person automatically transfer it? For instance, if a person that owned the gun passes, what do you do in cases like that?
If it passes, it goes to a family member. It's not required to be registered.
Okay. So
that's the only exception.
Yeah,
other than that,
right.
But if the estate decides they're going to sell it to John Doe, he's got to go through the 7-day waiting period.
Someone in the family belongs to and that person passes, then that gun, any member of the family.
Right.
When they say immediate family,
immediate family, really. They're entitled to have the gun without having to go through a record check. Because the person, if you sell it, you got to go through a 7-day waiting period of record check.
If you sell it. But for instance, a husband or wife or sister or brother, then they can just
give it over.
Just automatically get the handgun, and they do not have to register it.
That's correct.
Right. Okay.
So that was an exemption that we made for the transporting of a handgun. This year we've had some new laws regarding the one thing. I think one of the biggest bills that we passed this year was for the volunteer fire department.
Is that right?
Believe it or not.
What are you going to pay them?
They're going to get some money.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
They're going to get big money. They're going to get $6.7 million.
That's what I was thinking of, because here you volunteer firemen, they put their life on the line. Anytime you go to a fire, you're putting your life on the line.
Absolutely, and that's why we want them to have the best equipment. Now, let me tell you about this proposal. What happened was I was in court one day, and this judge says to me, how come we don't charge? There was a bill that passed. You remember when this helicopter crashed in Prince George's County?
Yes, right.
And one lady was killed, I believe, a young lady was killed. One of the bills that we passed was because the equipment was so outdated. Some of these helicopters are 20 years old.
Yeah, they're expensive. That's why.
And they're very, very, very expensive.
Right.
One of the things that we passed was that there was a charge of $7.50 on every motor vehicle case. It was added to the bill. And this judge says to me, how come we don't charge when there's a probation before judgment? Certainly we charge in every ticket, $7, not if it's in a conviction. So I had my lawyers in Annapolis look at it, and sure enough, the law read like this. It says, upon conviction, you charge the $7.50. Well, there were so many people getting probation before judgment that it amounted to a lot. So we struck that loophole, and as a result, $6.6 million every year will go to this fund that's used to replace equipment, both the fire department, for the fire department and the helicopter fund.
Right. And how much money was that?
$6.6 million every year.
Every year. Okay, you volunteer farmers, you see, Delegate Vallario, that's very important, because I know it's a lot of volunteer farmers and their family understand that this bill is...
There'll be $20 million, up to $20 million that will go in. First, the first $20 million goes into a pot so that the volunteer fire departments can borrow money or get grants from this fund to replace their equipment, both in the medical,
medical too,
and the fire company. Both are going to be entitled to use that money to replace equipment that's outdated. And so we'll make sure that our people, our volunteers especially, are protected.
Oh, fantastic, Joe. I tell you, boy, it's great to have you on the show. And what we have to do, we have to bring you back, and so you can finish this report, because I notice you have other things here, and what the information you gave us there is just about the sex offenders, about the different people, and different laws that have been passed here in the state of Maryland, and you're doing a terrific job, and we really appreciate you. Okay, take care now. See you next time. We're going to bring Joe back, boy, because he got some good information. He's working hard down there in Annapolis. See you next time.